Hello, relatives. The video podcast will play in just a moment, but I wanted to start this off by saying that the Lakota language is at the heart of the Sicangu Lakota Oyate on what's known as the Rosebud Reservation. It's important to know that today, fewer than 500 fluent Lakota speakers remain, in which many of them are elders. Many of these elders we recently lost during COVID, and as a result, the language is considered severely endangered. But the community, of course, is rising up to protect and revitalize the Lakota language on our own terms. From an immersion school like Wakaija Kitokeakchi to adult programs and grassroots efforts like Lokoya Waonia, meaning breathing life into the Lakota language. Like many indigenous communities, being Lakota is a worldview, and knowing the language is our connection to our ceremonies, to our songs, to our kinship systems, and whether it's through storytelling, digital tools, books, materials created by local community members, tribal programs, or even college courses at Sinte Glashka University, the language is being passed down in new, powerful, and exciting ways. There's lots of work to be done. It is very difficult work that comes with many challenges, but this is exactly why these conversations are vital to our community. The hope is that future generations not only speak Lakota, but they live it every day, and in time, that'll happen. Wopila for listening, and enjoy the very first episode of Unmuted Nations. Hello, everyone. My name is Jillian Wan. Today's episode is called Forgets Nothing, and that is because we have Delmer Forgets Nothing, and most of us just call him Delmz. He's been an amazing person in the community, an amazing friend, somebody who many of us have seen really grow professionally and as an individual in the community. So we're so excited to have him on the podcast. Delmer, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us about your family and what community you're from.
Halmitakiapi, Delmer Forgets Nothing, Junior Machiapi, na Rosebud Sioux Tribe, Mata, na Woso So Oyonke Awati, Ina Harriet Redbird Chiapi, na Ate, Delmer Forgets Nothing, Senior Chiapi, Misunkala, Dalbert Forgets Chiapi, na Tchanke, Romona Forgets Nothing. Mitchawichu Lanao Her Echiapi na Chungshi Dera Echiapi na Chante Washtea Yuha na Pechuzapi. Hello, relatives. My name is Delmer Forgets Nothing Jr. I'm from the Rosebud Sioux Tribe. I live in Parmalee, the Parmalee community that's located on Rosebud Reservation. My mother's name is Harriet Redbird. My father's name is Delmer Forgets Nothing Sr. My little brother, his name is Dalbert. My sister, her name is Ramona. I have a wife, her name is Lanao, and I have a daughter, her name is Dera. And I shake all of you guys' hands with a good heart.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here today, Delmz. You said you're from Parmalee, so we got to be careful what we say to you and how we say it, because I heard they don't play over in Parmalee. As many of you probably know, we are actually recording on Victory Day, which is the day that the Lakota took down Custer. There were many celebrations in the community today. What did you do exactly, Delmz, to celebrate today's Victory Day?
Today I went for a walk with my wife. So the university where I work at over here in Rosebud, Sinte Glashka, they had a Victory Day walk run, and me and my wife both. I work there and I also attend there, and she attends there too. And we just wanted to show support to our university, so that's what we did today.
Yeah, we thought today would be a really good day to record an episode specifically around the Lakota language, because, that is really the main reason as to why we still understand our culture, that we still know these stories. We're still able to celebrate these major wins that carried us forward. And so we really wanted to celebrate that today. But let's start off, Delmz, talking about your Lakota language journey. I've really seen you grow in the Lakota language. I know you started out with a program called Lakota Waonia created by Si Ko. But before that, your parents were fluent in the Lakota language. Could you tell us more about what that's been like and a little bit about your dad's history around the language?
Yeah. I just finished that program that you were talking about. It was a 3-year program where they taught us how to read and write and speak Lakota. I really enjoyed that program and I wish it didn't end, but I heard that they're working on another cohort. So hopefully that starts up and I want to help with that when that gets going. But before I joined that, my history with the language was my mom and dad, Ina and Ate. They were both raised by fluent speakers, so their whole family were Lakota speakers, and they've always spoke it. And they raised me around the language, and I've always been able to understand it because they always spoke it to me. My dad even said when I was in Head Start, I could speak it, but once I started going to regular school, like elementary, where English was the main language, he said that's when I kind of stopped speaking it. And but he told me that it was just important for him to always speak Lakota to me, him and my mom, because it was part of who we are. Even though we never spoke it back to them, they never stopped speaking to us. Like they hardly spoke to us in English. It was always in Lakota. And growing up, I didn't really think too much of it. I always thought that's what everybody did. They just spoke Lakota. I didn't really think of how significant or important it was growing up because I was just a kid growing up. Like I said, I just went to school where English was the main language, and it wasn't until I joined a college. I attended college, and we had to do a paper on boarding schools, and that's when I found out the history about our people, Native people, and what they went through, like how the boarding schools try to get rid of our language and our cultures. And then I had to do a deeper research for a paper on the language on our reservation, and I noticed that we don't have a lot of speakers left. And a lot of the elders were saying that they wish that more people started speaking, and that kind of sparked that driving me to want to learn it. And it was crazy because around that time is when Lokolia Waonia program started, and I joined that program. And having that program and my dad with me, helping me speak the language, and just going out and talking to elders and other teachers, that kind of sparked that passion into me to want to learn more, to read everything I can and talk to whoever I can who speaks the language. And then that's all of that just made that drive in me to learn the language.
So I mentioned a couple times how much myself and other, friends of yours and family members, how we've seen your growth and just your confidence build up and the way that you show up in the community it's amazing actually. And it seems like you really just found your voice and who you are. So does that have to do with committing yourself back to the language and finding that spark?
Yeah, I was just now thinking about, or I was recently just thinking about that too on a drive home, like, because I speak at a lot of events. A lot of times people have me say the prayers now or speak or say a few words at events. And before, I would always feel anxious and get all like worried, like, am I gonna say something wrong? Am I gonna do something wrong? I don't want to do this. But learning the language, one of my teachers, he told me, he said, when you learn the language, remember that you can't be scared to speak it. You have to make yourself speak the language. And me learning the language and reconnecting with my language and remembering that our people weren't allowed to speak the language, it kind of always motivated me to put that fear aside and just say, you got to talk, you got to speak your language, you got to say what you want to say because your ancestors, they weren't allowed that privilege. And that's what I always think about when I have to talk or learn the language. It gives me that confidence to talk because I always think about them. Like they weren't allowed to speak like we're allowed to speak nowadays. So that's what helps me not feel anxious anymore. And it made me feel more confident.
Yeah, I think that self-talk is really important, and it's probably something you even have to do often because, one, there's limited resources to having access to learning the language, but also in my little experience of trying to learn, it seems like it's a bit controversial too. And I see many arguments about the language. There's also, this amazing side of learning the language, but there's also this more difficult side of people arguing back and forth of how to say a word correctly or how to spell it correctly, things like that. So, how have you been able to move past those barriers?
One thing that one of my uncles, he was also one of my teachers, he told me was not to pay attention to it and not to get into any of the arguments that they have. And one of my other fellow teachers, he told me that just to use whatever is helpful for you. And I always stick to that thinking. Like whatever is helpful for you, just keep doing it. And whatever argument there is, try your best to stay out of it. And another thing was um, there's gonna be people who are gonna say things to you, like elders. Some elders will get mad at you for saying things weird or funny, or for using books. But there are also other elders who are gonna encourage that, and you gotta just talk to all the elders and just explain your situation and just say, well, because a lot of us, like you said, there's not a lot of resources, so I realized that when I taught other people, especially young people, that they don't have elders in their families anymore to speak Lakota, and they have to go to books and other resources like that. And sometimes I had to talk to some elders, and explain that too, like that we don't have a lot of resources and there's not a lot of speakers in the family, so they have to turn to these things. And it's kind of hard when the elders are discouraging them from using these things, and it kind of makes it hard for them to learn. So I always just say, just use whatever is helpful for you and try not to pay attention to the negativity. And that's all the things that I went through as a learner, like some elders saying negative things to me, some people saying negative things to me. I always kind of use that as an example or as motivation to treat others. So like that made me feel terrible, that made me feel ugly. So when I'm teaching others, I try to like be more compassionate and be more helpful.
It's really shown what a talent that you have for teaching, because I remember maybe midway or towards the end of the Lakota Waonia language revitalization program, you started teaching some online classes through Zoom. And also, I remember you teaching a couple in person classes too. And you were just it was so natural for you. And I think teaching's hard. Like sometimes I could be really good at things, but I have no idea how to teach somebody to do it. So you really have a talent for that. And that obviously must come from, just like you said, I took what I learned from others, and I also took, how it made me feel, whether it was good or bad. And I use that to my advantage to help teach others. But what has your journey been like in teaching other community members? And then a second part to that question is, you have also become a professor at the local university on the Rosewood Sioux tribe. Did you ever see that in your future?
No, I never ever thought I would ever be a teacher. I never like that was it. Like a few years ago, I would never think that I would be teaching, especially at a university. Teaching others is at first it was nerve wracking because like you said, like you could be good at a lot of things, but teaching other people is kind of hard and it makes you feel anxious. Well, that's how I felt too. Am I really a teacher? Am I going to be able to know how to teach these other people, especially adults and younger people? But I just, like you just said earlier, self-talk. I just talked to myself and said, well, I really love the language. We really need the language to come back. And you know a lot from your dad, from your mom, from the elders and teachers that you speak with. You just gotta go in there and just teach them the way you were taught, but should be more compassionate and give people more encouragement. And I think that's what helped me connect with a lot of people, because a lot of people always tell me, thank you for teaching me. I liked your class. It was very encouraging. And I like hearing things like that, because that's my main thing, is that I want people to feel good when they come to my classes. I want them to feel like they learn something and take that language with them. And I never thought I would be a teacher. And learning the language it gave me a direction in a way. So like before, I didn't really think, what am I gonna do in a few years with my life? And then reconnecting with my language, it gave me that drive. Like, oh, okay, now I know what I want to do. I want to be a teacher. I want to help my people learn the language again, and I want to help keep it going. So yeah, and yeah, I'm not a professor yet. I'm not technically a professor yet. The reason why I got the job was because of my experience with my language. My dad, my family in the Lakota Onya. So the director of the Lakota studies at Sinte Gleshka, he heard about me speaking the language, and he must have heard about the classes I teach, and he had a meeting with me, and we talked, and I guess he thought I was right for the job, and he hired me. So I've been teaching, I guess, 2 years now, and um, every semester is just helping me become a better teacher, and I really appreciate it. And I just got asked again to teach in the fall again.
Well, congratulations. It's very well deserved. I got to learn from you a little bit. And like I said, you're got a natural talent for it and you don't make it scary. I've had other teachers that kind of just make it seem really intimidating. And you're like, if you mess up, that's okay. But I want to go back to this message around the self-talk that you had to do. Because I recently just changed the title of my podcast and it's now called Unmuted Nations. And the reason why I decided to call it that is because I feel like so many indigenous communities were so quiet and humble about our talents and our gifts, which is, what we were taught, but also we're in a time and place now in the world where we really our ancestors paved a way for us to thrive. And that's what we should be doing. And many of us think, oh, I don't have the training, or I don't have maybe the experience, or I don't have the degree to meet these requirements and be considered this or that. So I'm just going to stay over here and stay quiet. But really, it's like you said, you recognize that your parents knew the language and they taught you so much. You knew the gifts that you already carried just because of who you are and where you come from. And I think that's just a good reminder for everybody. Basically, whatever they want to do in life, any Indigenous person, you already carry so much knowledge and so many gifts with you to thrive. And we don't have to wait for permission from anyone to move forward with those gifts. So I love that you shared that. It's just a good reminder for all of us to just thrive in who we are in our identity. But I did want to ask you, is there a specific experience that you've had that you felt closer to your ancestors or closer to your spirituality due to being connected to your language so closely now?
Yeah, so there was one time in Sweat in Inipi, where I was in there and I prayed in Lakota. I started praying in Lakota, and I started singing the songs, and I felt this weird sensation all over my body, and I started crying, and I felt proud and I felt happy that I could speak Lakota and I could understand it, and I'm singing the songs and I'm participating in one of our ceremonies, and I just started like remembering my research and the history of our people, and I just started feeling all these emotions, and I started thinking about them and all the sacrifices they did for us to be here. And I just felt connected and I just felt proud and happy. And I just thought, hopefully, I'm making them proud. And I'm glad that they fought for us, for me to sit here in this lodge, to be able to pray and understand and sing in our language. And that's when I felt the most connected. And I just felt like everything that I ever did brought me to this point to be doing this and being able to teach others and help bring back our language and teach about our culture. All of that at that moment just made me feel grateful that that's what I got to experience.
Yeah, it's amazing. It gave me chills, actually. I mean, just those little moments that you have on a spiritual level that remind you that you're in the right place at the right time, even through the hardships in life that you deal with. So that's amazing that whoever that was that gave you that nudge to say, hey, you're on the right path, Downs. You're really lucky to be able to have experienced that. I also wanted to jump a little bit into some other parts of your life that you've expressed very openly, especially on social media. By the way, also, if y'all don't know, Downs is getting, I like to think you're getting famous on Facebook. You're getting famous on Facebook with all your funny statuses. And another thing about you too, and people say this all the time, they're like, Downs in person, he's just chill, just quiet. But once you really get to know him, he's so funny and so hilarious, always got something funny to say. And then same thing on social media, you got really good messaging and making people laugh and essentially got that native humor. But yeah, I see you going viral on Facebook sometimes. But anyways, you've also talked about some of the hardships that you've gone through in life related to use of alcohol. And then you also lost your mother. She's no longer here with us, she's in the spirit world. But how have those two things shaped who you are today?
Well, losing my mom was really hard, and it kind of made me appreciate having my dad more and appreciate the time I have with him and other people, because I have lost a lot of people growing up. Cousins, aunties, uncles, nephews, nieces, friends, and my mom. Losing her was one of the hardest things I ever had to experience. But again, it taught me how to be grateful for the time that I do have with the relatives that are around me, because you never know what can happen, and just to learn to appreciate them. And not having her has been tough because everybody wants that motherly love. Like, they want to be able to talk to their mom and be able to say, Mom, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. Like, kind of makes you feel like a kid again that needs your mom. But when you're going through these things and you don't have your mom, it's kind of difficult. And yeah, before she passed away, one of the things that she told me was that you shouldn't drink, don't drink. So for a whole year, I didn't drink because of what she said to me. But for a while, I couldn't handle anymore. So I just started drinking, and I got addicted to alcohol, and it made me go down a bad road. So I did a lot of bad things, and I put stress on my dad and on my family. And one of those nights I just felt hopeless, where I thought, what am I doing with my life? I'm just drinking, and why am I doing this? I know my mom wouldn't like this and stuff. And one night, I um, almost died. Something happened within my body, and I don't want to get too into it, but it was just a wake up call that reminded me, that I need to sober up for my family, especially for my mom, for my daughter. And another thing that motivated me too was that I started remembering all my relatives that died from alcohol, and that motivated me to sober up too. And sharing my personal journey with alcohol, it kind of motivated other people to. So I get all these messages now from a lot of people who deal with alcohol too, and they always ask me, "You always share your story with alcohol. Can you help me?" And I want to sober up too. So I always share my story of how alcohol almost killed me, and how I needed to sober up for my family, because once you get sick from alcohol, it's kind of too late. And I see that a lot with my friends and family that passed away from alcohol, that had these diseases, and they always say that they wish they stopped drinking, but it's kind of too late. And I always share that message, that we're not invincible, that we need to take care of ourselves and think about what alcohol is actually doing to us before it gets worse.
As you were going through some of these experiences, you shared how, you made some hurtful decisions that hurt your dad, and I'm sure, decisions that hurt you. But how were you able to get to a point where you were able to forgive yourself for the choices that you made and move past those things?
To be honest, I still kind of carry some of those emotions with me, where I felt bad. But going to counseling and talking about your problems is helpful. So going to having a counselor or someone that relates to me and to talking about it and letting my feelings out and having someone saying that it's not your fault and like all of that stuff, it's helpful. And actually my daughter is one of my main persons that I talk to a lot about my problems because even though she's only 18, she's been through a lot in her life too, but she's very mature and she's kind of like my little best friend. And whenever I have problems, she tells me that it's okay, that I should forgive myself. I'm a good dad. I'm a good person. And yeah, just having someone to talk to and getting help like that kind of helps me deal with those problems.
What is your relationship with your mom like now, now that she's in the spirit world? I remember like recently I was really missing he's my technically not my grandpa, but I always called him my grandpa. But I lost him and he had a huge impact on my life. And I would always think about him and just be so sad. It would just ruin my day, honestly. And I was talking to my friend and I was telling her, and she's like, well, you can just talk to him and just build a new relationship with him. And so I started working on that and I would talk to him in a different way and not be so sad. And now when I think about him and I miss him, I talk to him, but I feel so happy and it gives me energy now to just make my day better. So yeah, just with that experience that I've had with somebody that I lost, I'm curious what your relationship with your mom is like now.
Ever since I got reconnected to my culture, language, a lot of times I hear your relatives are never gone. They're always with you and they're watching you and they're protecting you. And that kind of made me think, yeah, my mom's hearing me. She's with me. I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not causing any trouble. I'm going back to school. I'm working. And I know that's one of the things that she always wanted me to do was do good things and take care of my dad. So that's what I've been doing. And I know that sometimes in ceremonies, they tell me that she's with me and she's there and she's happy. And that's what I always think about. That's one of my motivations too, is to be a good person because I know if she was a good person and a lot of the respect that I have for other human beings and other people of all walks of life, it came from her because growing up, she would always tell me, you got to be nice to this person and you got to be nice to that person, no matter what they look like or how they are. You always have to be nice to someone. And I always carry that with me. So she taught me that, how to be compassionate and how to take care of your family. And all of the things that she taught me is what I try to live the way of my life. I try to live that way. And I know that she's watching me and hopefully that it's making her proud. And that's how I feel connected or have a new relationship with her.
Yeah, I think that's one of the many amazing things about our culture. There'd be many times where I would just look over at my grandma and she'd be talking to somebody and I'm like, who are you talking to? And she's like, oh, I'm talking to one of my cousins that passed away a long time ago. But yeah, we still, have those relationships, even though they may not be here physically on earth with us anymore. But I'm sure you get messages from your mom all the time, from her just reminding you of how proud she is of you. And obviously, you carry a lot of her energy because of the type of person that you are and the way that you show up for others, for your family, for your dad, the husband that you are, and the dad that you are. And I want to talk a little bit about that too, because a lot of your messaging on social media, you share with the public how important it is to be a good, supportive male figure, especially to the matriarchs in our families and in our communities. What sparked that for you to talk about those things?
Well, recently I started taking a class about Native American women and the history that they have. And I've always respected women because, again, I was raised by a good woman and she taught me how to be respectful. Like finding out the history of the way our women were treated, like mistreated throughout our history, it kind of made me feel like that we need to go back to those ways where our women were treated with respect. Because a lot of nowadays, back on our reservation over here in Rosebud, a lot of our women are taking leadership roles. Like we have a first female president and for our tribe, and then we have our SGU president is a woman too, and a lot of our community leaders are women too. And I hear a lot of like people saying bad things just because there's women leaders. Reading the books that I read about how our women were treated, it kind of motivated me to start saying things like, hey, did you know a long time ago our women were actually one of our leaders? They were the leaders originally. Like they were the ones that made decisions for our tribe, and we listened to them and things ran smoothly and we respected them. And it wasn't until like the Europeans came to our land and we adopted their mindset of mistreating women, and that went down the line to where it is now. And that made me want to say, hey, we need to treat our women better, especially having a daughter and a wife. I always think about them as my motivation too. Like I wouldn't want someone to be saying bad things or hurting my daughter or my wife when I'm not around. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of our male relatives have moms, sisters, daughters, wives too. And I just want them to stop and think about how would you feel if someone was mistreating your female relatives? And I always say that's what we need to think about. We need to start treating our female relatives like they are relatives. And we just need to start treating them like they are.
Yeah, and just in, my personal experience, there's a lot of women who remind people of that message and the importance of respecting women, but I don't hear that or haven't heard that from a lot of men. It's almost like it's a known thing, but I don't hear many men talk about it. So it definitely stood out when you started talking about it, which I think is very important. It's that being an ally in that way and a supporter in that way is very important. So thank you for that. And hopefully we start seeing more men talk about those things. And even if they have questions about it, that's okay too. If they want to know more about the history of our matriarchs and leadership in the past. There's obviously people to talk to in the community. You're taking a class, but those are all just really good teaching to be aware of and to learn more about. So, yeah, really grateful for you mentioning those things. And then, speaking of which, you talked about your wife and your daughter. What I've seen often in our community is there are lots of great dads, yes, but there are lots of men in the community who have kids and never see their kids, maybe don't even know their names. But how have you stayed connected and close to your daughter and in her life? And yeah, what's the journey of fatherhood been like for you?
It's kind of sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's hard, especially when you're raising a teenage daughter. Yeah, so it was kind of like I was young when I had her too. I was 17 when she was born, and I had a lot of figuring out what I had to figure out my life at the same time as raising her, and I made a lot of mistakes. Luckily, I had my mom and dad. My mom and dad, they told me before she was born was they told me you have to take care of her to finish school, and that made me like think, yeah, she's my responsibility. She's my daughter. It's not her fault. She didn't ask to be brought into this world, so you have to do your best for her. And I always try to be there for her, and that's one of my main goals was I wanted to be a good dad the way my dad was good to me for her. So that was my motivation to always be there for her and try my best to be a good dad for her. And sometimes I didn't make the best choices. Like some in the early beginnings, like when I was younger, I did what all dads do. They make that mistake of going out and drinking and kind of ignoring your daughter for a little bit, or being too strict with your daughter, especially since she's a girl. You want to protect her from boys and other bad things like that. So I was kind of too strict growing up. And in the beginning, I was kind of choosing drinking over her. And while I was maturing, I realized like she's my daughter. I care about her. I need to stop drinking. She was one of my main motivations to stop drinking. And she's like me. We like to talk things out. And she forgives me for a lot of things that I said to her also.
It's really good that you and your daughter are able to communicate in that way, especially now that she's older. She could be more expressive about how she wants to be treated and communicated with. And you already talked about, you guys have this bond where you're able to tell her things and she's your safe space. But yeah, fatherhood never ends. She's 18 years old and you still got a lifetime to go of being a father. But what would you say the most challenging part about fatherhood has been, and how have you overcome that? Or how are you working through that?
I think the most challenging thing is letting your kid be independent and be on their own because um uh everybody sees their daughter, whether they're 18, 30, 50, as their baby. And that's what I always think about my daughter. No matter how old she is, she's always going to be a baby to me. She's always going to be that little girl that I took to the carnival and got candy with and played toys with. That's what I always think about. And the older she gets, the more independence that she wants. And it's kind of hard to give her that. And she already has that. She has her own apartment, she has a job, and she's living her life. And one of the challenging things is you kind of want her to keep her home, like you want her to stay home and you can watch over her and take care of her and make sure that she's making the best decisions and not getting in trouble. But at the same time, she's old enough to make her own decisions now. She's 18, and you have to step back and be like, okay, now she's an adult. You have to let her go and you have to let her grow and learn things on her own. And I guess that's one of the challenging things about being a dad, especially to a woman that's just 18 who wants to be on her own, especially in the world we live in today. It's scary. And that's one of my constant worries. But at the same time, I'm also proud of her for like going out there in the world and trying to be her own person and discovering things and becoming independent and thriving on her own. That's what I always wanted for her, is just to leave the reservation, experience the world, and if she wants to, she can always come back and share what she learned and help our people. But for now, she wants to live her life the way she wants to on her own independently, and I support that. I'm proud of that, but I'm also having a hard time adjusting to that because again, she's my baby and the world's scary.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be so, so tough, but it's also really amazing to see a young woman be independent and say what she wants out of life and go after it. I can only imagine how hard it is to let your child go off into the world, but it's so powerful for a woman, especially a young lady, to take ownership of her life and be able to do, what she wants, and also have the trust from her dad and her family that she can make the right decisions. And I'm sure you'll have to be there to guide her a lot along the way. We all need a lot of guidance, especially in our younger age, but it sounds like you all have really been there for her and been super supportive of her. And speaking of which, you have an amazing, beautiful wife that many of us just know from because of you, and she's been at I only know her from different events that we've been at, and she's always just been so nice and so supportive of the different events that are happening in the community. And I always see her out running and being healthy. But you've also, made some funny jokes about your wife as far as like, oh yeah, if she goes to work, I'm gonna just go like wait outside in the car for her till she gets off work. The other things that some of these toxic natives be doing. But yeah, those kind of statuses always crack me up. And you and your wife seem to have just this amazing, very healthy and supportive relationship. But first of all, how long have you guys been together? And how have you gotten to this really good point of just being so supportive of each other?
I've been with her since I was 20, 21, and 35 now. So probably about 14, 15 years now. It took a while for us to get everything the way it is now. So like we were young when we got together, and we had to grow together, and we kind of had to figure out what everybody figures out. Like, we got to compromise, we got to figure out your wants and needs, my wants and needs, and we got to be respectful of each other and help each other grow. When I decided to sober up, she decided to sober up with me, and it was because of her because of that support is what helped me stay sober too. Having her live that sober, healthy lifestyle with me, and having her support me on everything I do. And she's the one that actually got me going back into college, because she wanted to go back to college and she encouraged me to try it. So that's how I got back into college after not being in school for a while. And me running motivated her to start running and getting back into shape. And me teaching also, she supports me teaching, and she's always there for me. And we kind of just support each other and are always there for each other. The way my dad treated my mom was the main reason why I feel like I'm loyal to my wife and try to treat her the best I can, because of how he treated my mom. He treated her good. He was there for her till she passed away, and he always took care of her, and that made me want to treat my wife the same way too. Like, I want to be a good dad and a good husband like my dad is. And that was one of my motivations, to be there for her. And I like joking around with her, and I just always glad that she knows how to take a joke and she knows how to take things seriously. Because some people always say she's gonna get mad at you, she's gonna say things to you. She just always laughs with me, and she knows how to joke around and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's amazing to hear that was modeled for you by your dad. And shout out to your dad, by the way. He's so cool. He's just chill. I remember seeing him at some of the walks, and I love that your dad and your brother, your wife, they're always there to support you, and they showed up at your events and just all of your celebrations. So they've seemed so supportive. I remember when your dad first joined Facebook, I was like, I don't know if this is real or yeah, he got on Facebook. And is he still on Facebook actually?
Yeah, he's kind of on it a little too much, but
That's funny.
he always sees my posts, and he always shows me them like I didn't write them, like I didn't see him. He puts his phone in my face and he said, "Did you say that?" And I'll say, "Yeah," and he'll start laughing.
That's funny. Yeah, some of these elders, they're on Facebook. My grandma is the Facebook queen now. I remember when she first started getting on there, like she couldn't use it, and now she's always on there and posting pictures and messages. One time she posted a picture of her at a yard sale. So I'm like, did you have somebody take that picture of you at the yard sale and then you posted it? Like you're an influencer or something? So I always like to joke around with her. No, that's so cool. Yeah, your dad he's so awesome. He's so supportive of you and just a cool guy. Again, going back to today being Victory Day, I remember actually, I don't know, was it a couple of years ago, we collaborated on hosting a Victory Day event in Mission. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah. I was actually the MC for that event. Yeah, that was a cool event. We had a potato dance, a rabbit dance, drum singing contest, and yeah, I really like that event. I wish that we could do. I'm hoping that we could do it again sometime down the road.
I know. I wish we could have made that an annual event because for it being the first time, it was packed. I remember we got more people than expected. I remember we were getting so close to running out of food, and there was literally one plate of food left for the last person. I was like, "Oh my god, creator is looking out," because that's so many times where there's just enough food. But yeah, it was so fun. People came out and danced and remember the badass T-shirts that we had that, Robert designed?
Yeah, I still got mine. I actually got three of them. I kind of stole one.
That's funny. I was gonna message you and say, "Wear your, Victory Day shirt," but I couldn't find mine, so it's somewhere in my closet. Yeah, that was such a fun day. Victory Day is just I recently had to go to an event, and I was in a room full of people that I don't agree with and just some evil people that make evil decisions in this world. And I was thinking, why am I here? Like, why did I get sent here? I don't think my words are going to make a difference or anything. But then with it being Victory Day, it was just a really good reminder that we have so much strength and power in our blood. And, there's a reason why our ancestors fought so hard for us to be here today. It's already within us, and we just have to be able to let it out. But yeah, don't want to just make it about myself. So is there anything that you want to share with people around the power of who we are as Lakota people?
Yeah. So I always share my experience. No matter where you are, where you're from, your voice matters. And it's always important to say how you feel and what you think. And to always remember you're important, because I always use myself as an example. And what you said earlier, I don't think I'm Facebook famous. I don't think I'm anything like that. I just always say what's on my mind. And like you said, it was kind of viral. I never plan on my words or anything for it to be viral like that or anything. I just always try to share a positive message. And I always try to speak from the heart and be humble. And when I do, it kind of, a lot of people relate to what I say, and they share these things and they comment things and say, that's how I feel, or thank you for sharing this, and it makes them more motivated to share their voice, or to sober up, or to learn the language again, or just to laugh. And a lot of those make me realize, like, yeah, my voice might be powerful if I can connect to people like this. But at the same time, I'm just a regular native from the res, from Parmalee, a small town in Parmalee. Like, actually, you hear a lot of people say this. They always say, I'm just a humble man, I'm nobody, like that. But in reality, that's what I actually think about myself. Like, I'm nobody special. I'm just a regular guy from Parmalee who's sharing his voice. But a lot of people relate to it. A lot of people connect with it, and they message me and always telling me, like, you're funny. What you say makes me laugh. What you say made me feel good, or motivate me to do this and do that. And that made me think, yeah, if I'm just a regular person who can share these messages and connect with people and get them to do things, and then I'm pretty sure, like, people who are in better positions than me, like professors, presidents, leaders in the community, musicians and stuff like that. Like, your voice matters, even if you're none of those things. If you're just a regular person down the road who has a positive message, it matters. And if you share it with someone, they'll connect with you, and you just have a bunch of people who are sharing positive things. And just always remember to share your voice. Your voice is important, and remember that you're important, and no matter where you're from or what you're doing, your voice matters.
Yes, this is exactly why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because you are just a humble man. You're just you just are just a regular, everyday Lakota man who just shows up every single day. And in this colonial world, it's so centered around individualism, and it's almost like you got to be the favorite, or you got to be famous, or this and that to be something special in this world. And one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast is because you're a good reminder of that message that, especially in Indigenous communities, we have always believed that every single person has a purpose. Nobody has ever been left out, because everybody has a purpose in the community. And it's been so many years that people have taken power from our community members and made them feel less than, when they're so special, though they're so talented, just because of who they are and where they come from. So with your message, it's just an awesome reminder that we all have a way to make an impact in this world, and that's through simply by doing the things that you enjoy. And in your case, it's the Lakota language and sharing your talents with that and your knowledge. And yeah, so I'm very grateful that you ended it in that way. So I just want to say thank you so much. Is there any like last message that you want to share or anything that we didn't quite get to, that a topic that's heavy on your mind?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me. You mentioned earlier that you were there in the beginning when I started teaching, and I always remember that you were one of the main supporters I had in the beginning, and I always remember people that were kind to me. And I just wanted to say to you for always being a nice person to me, for being supportive to me, and allowing me to be part of your projects also. And I'm glad that I'm able to pay you back in that way. You supported me, so I want to do whatever I can to support you. And my message that I want to share with people is to just remember that your voice matters. Everything that you do is important. Don't let nobody make you feel less than. Try to learn your language, no matter what tribe you're from. You could be Crow, Dene, whatever, Lakota. Just try to learn your language and your culture, because you'll feel connected to our ancestors. And it'll make you feel proud to be who you are. It'll make you feel reconnected, and you'll feel proud to be whoever you are, Lakota, Dene, whatever tribe you're from. You're going to feel connected, and you're going to feel pride, and you're going to feel powerful. You're going to get your voice back. It's going to help you, remind you that we belong here, and this is our place to be. And that's what I wanted to share.
And how can people support you, or how can they reach out to you if they just got questions around the language, or if they just love your message and want to stay connected to you?
I have a Facebook, Delmz Forgets Nothing. You can add me on Facebook, message me, Snapchat, TikTok. I make TikTok videos. I mostly post on Facebook because that's where all my family and friends are, and that's where I post a lot of my language stuff and videos, and I try to connect like that. And if you ever want to work with me in any type of way, like you want me to do a workshop with you, want me to come teach a class for your program, or if you just want me to teach you, you can always message me, and I'm always happy to help and share my resources, share my knowledge, and anything that you need help with the language, I can do my best to help.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Delmz. And I feel like you're just getting started. So keep on with the hard and difficult work that it takes to keep our language alive. It's so, so, so necessary. And congratulations on all the good things happening for you. I'm truly, truly so happy for you, because you're so very deserving of any success that you reach and just good things happening for your family. I'm always going to be here to support you, and you're doing an amazing job. So keep it up. And thank you, everybody, for listening to today's podcast. This is the very first episode. So very grateful to have Delmz on the first episode. And we will talk to you all soon. Wopila Doksha Ke.
Doksha.